Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome to Around the Kitchen Table, a space for honest conversations, stories from the heart, and gentle reminders that we're all walking each other home. I'm Laura Island, mother, creative, soul-led CEO of Sacred Sister CIC, and the woman behind Wise Sacred Woman. I'm a witch with ADHD, and this podcast is where we gather to share the real, raw and radiant parts of life. Each week, we'll explore what it means to live in rhythm with ourselves, with nature and with one another. We'll talk about womanhood, sisterhood, creativity, leadership, spirituality, and the messy magic of being a human. So pour yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and let's meet here around the kitchen table, where stories are medicine and every voice belongs. So, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Around the Kitchen Table. If you're new here, I'm Laura Island, I'm the founder of Sacred Sister. I'm an interfaith minister, and I'm simply a woman who believes that when we sit down together and have real conversations, something shifts. And this podcast is exactly that, conversation, cup of tea or collagen chocolate in my case right now, and a moment to pause in a busy world. And honestly, today's episode is going to probably be a little bit shorter because life right now is full and busy. So before I start, I'm just going to stop and take a breath. Do that with me, wherever you are. Take a breath. Don't close your eyes if you're driving. It's been a really full morning. It's kind of, what's the time? Coming up for 2 o'clock on Friday the 6th of March. I usually record my podcasts earlier in the day. I can't speak today. Okay. Is anyone else like menopausal? Mercury's in retrograde. I am busy, good busy. Like the spring has begun to just really sprung. So, if you wanted to tune into a really succinct and professional podcast, this one probably isn't going to be that episode. But I've got a lot to share with you. As always, there's always a lot to share. There's always a lot to connect with. This week, I blitzed my office. I woke up one morning and just went, right, today's the day. And, I used to think those days were procrastination, but actually, so much has shifted because I shifted the energy in my room. And so I really encourage you to shift the energy in your space. It's that time. We're ready for it. It's ripe. You can feel it in the air. And we've had, huge week, moons, and are we still in that same week? Like this week has felt really quick and really long all at the same time. I'm just trying to think back. We had our open circle on Monday evening. Yeah, we had our full moon circle on Tuesday, and we have rooted on Wednesday, which is the rhythm we're currently in inside the sanctuary. I've got a new business mentor who's amazing, who I absolutely love. So there's going to be some big things coming with her. And it just has felt like a full week, but a good full week. Except those moments where my week's been hijacked, my day's been hijacked. Just going to have a sip of my drink. My day's been hijacked because the kids have needed something, or I'm deep in something and suddenly someone wants me for something else. And those days where you feel like you're getting somewhere and then it just like goes nowhere. Yesterday was one of those, I went to sort something out. It should have been really simple and it turned into all day. It's just that kind of time. So if you're feeling that in your awareness too, drop a little comment in wherever you're watching this and let me know, because it would be really great to know that I'm not the only one. And I know I'm not the only one, but So that's a 2-minute ramble and 2 minutes of your life you're not getting back. So let's just talk about what I really want to speak about today, which is, we're just a few days away from International Women's Day. And this Sunday, I'm going to be gathering with women here in Weston-super-Mare for One Voice Rising, which is all about connection and voice and prayer and peace. But before we do that and before we gather there, I wanted to talk today about something that's been really sitting with me probably for many years, and that is the kind of themes of International Women's Day. And the question I come back to, and I keep coming back to, is this: actually, what does it actually mean to be a woman today? Today, in 2026, what does it mean to be a woman? Because there's this disconnection from me with International Women's Day. I last year, for those of you that have been around for a while, you'll know that I attempted to put on this event in Bristol. I'd got these amazing speakers. We were going to do this amazing event in Bristol, and it just didn't rock. It just didn't. The tickets didn't sell. It didn't shift. I was a bit put out. I was a bit bummed. Some people were like, quite big names were like, yeah, I'm in. And then they didn't. And then there was this other kind of weird competitive thing. It was just not cool. And so I ended up deciding I would postpone it until May. And then I ended up deciding to pull it all together. And it lost me quite a lot of money, which I didn't have to lose. But I realised that, this is one of the things that I struggle with, is this feeling slightly disconnected from International Women's Day, not from the intention, but from the way that it's sometimes presented. Every year I go online and I look at, what are the themes this year that they're putting out? And, there are different aspects. So there's a theme from the UN. And then there's another theme from kind of International Women's Day, who I think just kind of bought the website, the domain name, and started to do a thing. There were some organizations and there were some different other kind of International Women's Day things from different brands. And often they all say something different. And sometimes when I read them, I just find myself thinking, is this really it? Is this really the conversation we want to have about women? Because being a woman actually can't be reduced to a campaign theme. Being a woman is something far deeper than that. And it's not just about what we're fighting or what we're achieving or what statistics say about us. Sometimes I think the most radical thing we can do on International Women's Day is to simply pause and ask, what does it really mean to be a woman? Not a role, not a label, not a political category, but a woman, a human being, a daughter, a mother, a sister, a grandmother, a teenager, an elder, a body that feels deeply, and a heart that carries both incredible strength and incredible tenderness. And of course, we can't talk about womanhood without acknowledging something that's still painfully real, and that's the violence against women. Those of you that have listened to my story will know that I've been through varying degrees of abuse over the years, and it's taken me a long time to recognize it as abuse. I used to just blame myself constantly. Oh, it's just me. It's just my hormones. I must be doing something wrong. I was constantly finding the way to excuse another's behavior by making it my fault somehow. Control, fear, silencing, gaslighting, and the subtle ways that we as women still shrink ourselves to stay safe, because sometimes we just have to. Because actually speaking up gets us into more trouble. And these things are not abstract ideas, they're lived realities, not just here in our own country, but from across the world. And they shape us, even if we haven't experienced them directly, because they live in our collective memory. They live in our nervous systems, in the stories we were raised by and raised with, in the caution that we carry. I walked up the hill the other day from town. It was getting dark. Sorry, I'm just going to carry on drinking my hot chocolate while we're chatting, and I hope you don't mind, but this is actually my breakfast. I realise I haven't actually stopped yet today. So I was walking up the hill and it was slowly getting darker. And I found myself naturally, I was going to walk up the stairs and through the park. And I found myself naturally reacting. Now, I don't really go out very much, let's face it. And I don't really walk around towns of it's like we're in a town for the first time in a long time. So this is kind of new for me to experience this kind of space to be in. And I was tense. I was tense. What if, who's that? What's that noise? Who's that person? I was scanning constantly and I had my phone in my hand, knowing that if I needed to, I had my phone in my hand. And I was reaching for my keys in my pocket, knowing where my keys were. And and I recognized that I've been doing that since I was young, really young. I used to have a stalker when I was in my early teens, and everywhere I went, this creepy guy was. And again, I just didn't think anything of it, but it was not a nice experience. And so I recognized when I was tensing coming up the hill the other day that actually I'm still living those old stories. They still live in my nervous system. I still feel the need to watch over my shoulder in the dark. That's not the way it should be. It really isn't. And I'm not saying that men and boys don't feel that way because I'm sure they do. I know that my boy was bullied throughout most of his life, so I know that he felt the same way. But I know that as he's got older, he's kind of, not, it's not really impacted him in the same way. My daughter now, is really cautious when she's out. And I'm very, much like it's all like the world is a good place, but she sees it, she hears it, she feels it. So she's also kind of making sure that she is okay all of the time. So we carry this caution and we second guess ourselves. And that I think is something to really come home to right now. Because we see these things on the news and on social media and we understand them in the bigger, wider external world, but these things still live within us. And then there's this other layer that I think we need to talk about more honestly as well, and that's the sister wound. Because actually there are realities that I have always felt unsafer with women than I did with men for a long time. And, the ways that women struggle with each other, competition and comparison and judgment, the subtle tension that can exist between women. I see it all the time. People talk about collaboration, about sisterhood, about doing things together, about lifting each other up. And yet, sometimes underneath that, there's still competition. I feel it fiercely when I feel a bit left out of something. And that's mine to own. It's not on anybody. But I hear people talking about, these amazing women, and I'm like, but we know each other and we're friends, and I don't fit into that category. Like, what's going on? And it really pushes something in me because actually there's often a fear because I've grown Sacred Sister, because I've created something, because there's a fear around, oh, if we tell her, like, there might be, I don't even know what the thing is, to be honest, if I'm really honest. And I have got really keen to call it out recently. I have been really brave and said to really amazing founders recently, who I've supported and championed through their own growth. And I've said to them both, like, what is it? What is it that, do I feel like the underdog because it's just me and I feel like the underdog? Or is there something here? And both of them were actually able to kind of reflect and kind of look at what was going on for them and be like, no, you're right. There's something here. There's something for me. There's something that I don't maybe understand. So therefore, I feel I can't trust it in some way. And rather than having those open conversations, they're just there and it becomes a thing between us. I stop reaching out because I'm just like, I can't put myself in that position over and over and over. And so sometimes underneath that, there is still competition. And I think, like, we have to be brave enough to acknowledge that, not to shame ourselves, but to understand it because the sister wound didn't appear out of nowhere. For generations, we were placed in positions where we had to compete for safety, for approval, for resources, for small spaces that we were allowed to occupy. And when you understand that, you realize something fundamental and something important. This isn't about women being the problem. It's about women carrying the scars of a system that separated us. Often I look to our sisters in kind of other cultures. I look to our sisters out in India, for instance, and the Indian and Asian families that I know here in the UK. And they have, and my own sisters when I was living in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East, like there was there was a sisterhood. There was this fundamental connection. And I could never quite put my finger on it because it's not to say that they are not in danger. It's not to say that they are not repressed. It's not to say that they are marrying off children. All of that stuff is real. But something changes when you are not expected to go out, and it's not you're not expected to go out and work. Like, you can work if you want to, but there's not an expectation. You don't have to go and work to pay the bills, right? Like, your husband does the work, you look after the house and the children. Like, in some level, there's something really beautiful about that, because that is what we are here as women to nurture and support. And of course, we're entitled to live however we want. I've had a beautiful career. I've had numerous careers in my time, and I'm a mum, and I'm lucky to have my children, and and I did that and brought them up by myself for 9 years. There's a lot that I've done that I kind of sit back and I connect with and think, wow. But what I don't see in the same way out in those countries is the competition between women. We're so advanced over here, it's amazing, but there is a competition. You go to other places and it doesn't exist in the same way because they're not competing for the jobs, and they're not competing for a man, usually, sadly, because they have arranged marriages. So they are put together. But it does make sisterhood sit slightly differently. And I'm sure there's more to it than that. This is me just really skirting the surface of my own thoughts and visions. And you can absolutely disagree with me. And you can absolutely tell me in the comments, and we can speak and let's have a conversation about it. Come on the podcast. Let's have a conversation about it. But this is what I see. This is what I see, and what I feel is that we are carrying the scars of a system that separated us. And that creates a lot of grief. Creates a lot of grief for me. I think about the separation even in my own family, you know, even in my own family, where the women in our family don't really, none of them speak to each other. My aunties and cousins, none of us speak to each other, but we're a family. So this week in our community, and for those of you that are on our mailing list, you'll have seen it last week because I shared it, because everything happened super late last week. So I ended up doing our newsletter on the Saturday, but actually overnight, after creating our podcast, I ended up doing two podcasts last week. If you haven't been and watched them both, they are both amazing. I did one that was scheduled, and then I did another one that wasn't scheduled, and then I went out to see a show with my husband called If God Was a Woman. It was epic, by the way. Louisa is epic, by the way. You should go and see it. But whilst I was there, I got the news that a sister in our community had passed. And watching the grief move through our sisterhood, women that knew this woman personally, and also just through our online connections across the water, like in different countries. It ripples through communities in different ways. Some people want to come together, some people withdraw, some people don't know how to respond at all. And what I noticed again was this deep longing that we all carry to simply be together in the truth of what we're feeling, to not have to navigate it alone, because grief, just like sisterhood, is not meant to be held in isolation. It's time to kind of change. And I know I've banged on about this for so long, and I'm just one woman doing this, right? And I've got an amazing, beautiful team and collection of women who have kind of begun to lean really into Sacred Sister over the years, and that's powerful, and I love them all dearly. But you can go do this in your own community. You can go and gather women in your own community. You don't have to have training. You don't have to kind of be anyone special. You can just decide that, if you're lonely and you feel isolated, be the one who changes that. Be the one who changes that. Because if you're feeling it, other women in your society and in your community and in your culture and in your families will be feeling it too. And when we zoom out and look at the wider world, we see even more grief. wars and violence and political division, Israel and Iran and America and the Middle East. And it's easy to talk about war in abstract terms, but war is never abstract. War is people and families and children. I can't even speak about it without that feeling rising because innocent lives get caught in something far bigger than themselves. And sometimes I sit with this question, what would happen if we stopped trying to fight our way to peace? What if peace actually begins somewhere else entirely? What if peace begins inside the nervous system of each and every human being, inside the way we regulate ourselves? There are bad people in the world. There are shit people in the world. There are people that have had humongous great traumas that they've never been able to face. And so that they internalize it and it comes out in anger and rage. That's all true. We have billionaires that just want to win all the freaking time. There's no one needs to be a billionaire on this planet and no one needs to be poor. There is more than enough money to go around. And yet, many of us, including myself at times, are still struggling to make ends meet and work it out. It has to change. It has to change. But it's inside the way we regulate ourselves, and it's inside the way we treat each other, and inside the way that we choose compassion over reaction. Yesterday, something happened here where I live. My daughter called and she was like, I was just going to go up to the woods, but I can't get up to the woods because there's police cars and fire engines and ambulances. Do you know what's going on, Mum? And I was like, not even at home. No, darling, I have no idea, but I can see the blue lights from where I am. Are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I'm just going to turn around and go the other direction. It's all blocked off. And I was like, okay. And, there were so many, all these vehicles. We came back up the hill and then somebody had posted, the local news had posted on a website about the fact there had been this incident. We live by a quarry and someone was scaling the walls of the quarry. And so it was quite a major incident. Nobody goes up the side of a quarry wall, I assume, to end their life if something shit's not going on in their life, right? No one just gets up one morning and goes, do you know, I'm just going to do that for a laugh. Especially in this particular place, it's not isolated. There's cafes and art studios and there's people around. So it was a major incident. And somebody in their nearest kind of, I'm going to say dickheadness, responded to this post and went, great, just a waste of resources. It's not like it was a major incident. I was like, well, actually, my response to that was, is any loss of life a major incident? Like some of us would see that as a major incident. And his response was, some of us wouldn't. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I can't even argue with Neanderthal men. I stand up to it all the freaking time and I call it out all the time because it's not okay. It's not okay. And I get so frustrated when I hear about, oh, don't even get me started. I don't like talking politics. I call it politics because it's just bollocks, the whole lot of it. And yet it affects every single one of us. And everybody walking on the planet right now is affected by politics in some way because shit things happen. Shit things happen around religion and politics. And so that seems crazy for me to say as an interfaith minister. But the reason I became an interfaith minister is because my God is love. My God is nature. My God is trees. My God is in the cycles that we live in. My God is in my rhythm. My God is in my heart. And that's what's important to me. And, if we stop worshipping to an external source, and that's not to say I don't believe in an external source, but I don't give my life over to an external source. I own my life and I act the best way I can with my integrity. And sometimes I'm a bit shit because I'm a human being. But 99% of the time, I come back to love. A human life is never a waste of resources, never. And it just highlighted something that feels so present in the world right now. And it's a lack of humanity and a lack of compassion and a loss of our ability to see each other as human beings first. Which is why gatherings like the one happening this Sunday matter so much to me. Not because they fix the world, but because they remind us of something important. Peace is not something governments can impose. Peace is something humans cultivate inside themselves, inside communities, inside moments of connection. And when women gather and when voices rise and when we sing and when we listen to each other, when we simply sit together and remember our shared humanity, that's when we get to make a difference in the world. So maybe this year, instead of asking what the theme of International Women's Day is, maybe we ask something simpler of each other. What does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to live with compassion? What does it mean to stand beside another woman without comparison or competition? What does it mean to choose humanity? Because when we answer those questions, International Women's Day stops being a campaign and becomes something far more powerful. And that's the deeper remembering of who we are as women. So wherever you are in the world this week, I just encourage you to take a moment, breathe, place your hand on your heart, and remember that the most powerful thing that any of us can do right now is stay connected to our humanity. And if you happen to be near Weston-super-Mare this Sunday, or not, it's 2 hours from London. Jump on a train, Paddington to Weston-super-Mare. You can be here in 2 hours. Come and join us. Women are gathering, voices are rising. We're creating a collective prayer for peace, because sometimes the simplest acts are the ones that ripple the furthest. And if you can't be here with us in Weston-super-Mare, you can jump online. You can join us in our online ceremony. There's only 100 places available on Zoom, so be quick because they are filling up fast. When you register for the online, you'll get the online Zoom connection. You'll get our meditation. You'll get the songs that we're going to sing, your registration pack. And, you know, I invite you, if you want to join us by yourself, great. If you want to go out and invite some friends around, some women around to your house to do this thing together, amazing. And more than that, wherever you are in the world, at 4:44 p.m. UK time this coming Sunday, we will be in heart coherence with each other. I've created the meditation. It's online. You can go and press play on it for free on YouTube. It's open. Just go and grab it and start now. Start to recognize what it feels like to find peace in your own heart. Because that's where we get to ripple out this amazing energy and frequency that changes the world. And I'm not the only one doing this. There are many. I keep seeing it. There was a witchy peace women's thing this week on the 21st. There's a global peace moment. Like, it's happening because people recognize you can't fight fire with fire. You have to do something different. So thank you for being here, joining me around the kitchen table. I'm going to finish my hot chocolate. It's cold. And I really hope to see you soon. Take care. Lots of love. Laura out.